Well, Bill and Sade, accepting a plea agreement would mean that Sean Combs would have to admit to trafficking and force. And today he made it very clear that was not going to happen. Diddy maintained all along these encounters involved consenting adults and plans to take his chances that a jury agrees.
Difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life, but sometimes you got to do that. I was fucked up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
Sean Diddy Combs arrived at a Manhattan courtroom on May 5th for what was expected to be a routine jury selection. But the tone shifted quickly when Judge Arun Subramanian lightened the room with unexpected humor, catching everyone off guard.
I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. Got to go into therapy and go into rehab. Had to ask God for his mercy and grace.
The courtroom cracked up when Judge Arun Subramanian joked about Diddy's many stage names and the length of juror forms, drawing laughs even from reporters. But the mood turned quickly. Before jury selection began, Diddy faced the weight of 5 federal charges, including serious allegations of transporting individuals across state lines and conspiracy. Prosecutors claim he orchestrated a years-long scheme involving manipulation, lavish gifts, and cross-country travel to exploit vulnerable women.
I'm so sorry. But I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
Prosecutors argue the alleged scheme served to protect and grow Diddy's brand, earning profits while hiding questionable behavior behind layers of employees, shell companies, and strict NDAs. Now 55, Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges, maintaining that all interactions were consensual. Still, if convicted on the most serious counts, he could face life in prison and significant financial loss, including property and royalties. Assistant U.S. Attorney Rachel Collins stated they have extensive evidence, including financial records and travel logs, which she says point to a coordinated pattern of control, not consent.
Last hearing before Sean Combs' trial starts, when he walked into federal court today, he appeared to be looking for his family. They've pretty much been at all of the hearings that I've been to, but there was no presence of his sons or his mother or his sister who had previously been at those hearings.
Meanwhile, Combs' attorney Benjamin Brafman pushed back, claiming the government misrepresented adult relationships and exaggerated details. In a pre-trial statement, he argued the indictment was based on speculation, old grudges, and mischaracterized events. The 5-count indictment was unsealed in February after a lengthy grand jury investigation involving sealed lawsuits, internal company communications, and phone records. Prosecutors allege that Combs used luxury travel, including private jets and tour buses, to move individuals between cities, but the defense insists there was no criminal intent.
So here's what came out of today's hearing. Number one, the government acknowledged that they offered Combs a plea deal. Combs acknowledged he has no interest in taking that. They're going to move forward with the trial.
Prosecutors allege that Combs sometimes offered opportunities like modeling or music video roles as part of a pattern of manipulation. 2 of the most serious charges involve alleged coercion between 2016 and 2020. The travel-related counts center on trips to Miami, Los Angeles, and Las Vegas, where high-end hotels and private security were reportedly used in ways that limited the freedom of certain individuals. The government describes it as part of a broader exploitation enterprise, allowing them to introduce additional evidence beyond the main 5 charges. Court documents reference 3 primary accusers, listed by initials, with at least 8 more witnesses expected to testify. A sealed filing reportedly confirms that Cassie Ventura, who previously settled privately with Combs, has now been subpoenaed for possible rebuttal testimony. Judge Arun Subramanian denied the defense's request to delay the trial, stating the prosecution had turned over sufficient discovery materials. To protect jurors amid public interest, the court ordered anonymity and partial sequestration. Before proceedings began, the judge even made light of Combs's many stage names, joking they might be longer than the jury forms.
Talked about the jury selection process, which one legal expert I spoke to said is probably the most important thing that you want to pay close attention to before the actual trial starts.
The jury form is a detailed 120-question survey probing jurors' social media habits and any past exposure to celebrity abuse cases. Given the high-profile nature of the trial, selection is expected to take about 4 days. Combs entered the courthouse via a private tunnel, dressed in a navy wool suit and rimless glasses. With court approval, he's allowed to wear personal clothing instead of standard jail attire, rotating between 2 suits, 4 ties, and 1 pair of shoes throughout the expected 8-week trial. This criminal case follows a surge of civil lawsuits filed since November 2023, accusing Combs of misconduct at lavish parties. Those suits are currently on hold to avoid interfering with the criminal proceedings. Public filings indicate prosecutors plan to introduce evidence including surveillance footage, encrypted messages, and financial records they claim show hush payments routed through third parties.
And thirdly, we learned that Combs will be adding 2 new attorneys to his defense team. And just to recap, Combs, who is 55 years old, could spend the rest of his life behind bars if convicted on sex trafficking and racketeering. He has pleaded not guilty to all charges.
Prosecutors say the payments in question reflect a larger pattern of behavior supporting the central conspiracy charge. But Combs' legal team argues it's standard practice in the entertainment industry, routine NDA settlements with nothing criminal behind them. They're bringing in forensic accountants to testify that all financial activity was above board. Still, some legal analysts note similarities to the 2022 R. Kelly case, where federal prosecutors used conspiracy statutes to secure a conviction. Charging public figures under RICO laws for personal conduct remains rare. But experts like Loyola law professor Lori Levinson say these cases are gaining legal traction. The indictment includes a possible $140 million forfeiture that could target Combs' properties, including a Beverly Hills mansion, a Long Island estate, and rights to his music catalog. As scrutiny grows, Combs has reportedly handed off control of several business ventures. His liquor partnership has ended, and Revolt Media has appointed an interim board as advertisers begin distancing. At a March court hearing, prosecutor Rachel Collins previewed the scope of their case: 48 digital exhibits, 31 physical items, and nearly 900 pages of financial records. The government anticipates using 4 weeks to present its side, with an equal amount of time offered to the defense. Attorney Benjamin Brafman continues to argue that the case is built on exaggerated stories from former associates. One sealed exhibit reportedly includes messages from a key accuser expressing gratitude to Combs and requesting help with her career. Prosecutors, however, say those messages reflect emotional or financial influence, not consent. They also plan to introduce a 2019 audio recording of Combs during a studio session that they claim reveals controlling behavior. Brafman is seeking to exclude the recording, calling it irrelevant to the charges. If convicted on the most serious counts, Combs could face at least 15 years in prison. Under RICO statutes, sentencing could include asset forfeiture and stacked penalties, designed to dismantle what prosecutors describe as a long-running, organized scheme.
They're going to try and say that Diddy's mental capacity could not make it possible for him to commit these crimes, claiming that maybe drugs or alcohol could have been at fault.
The U.S. Attorney's Office says this case is about accountability, seeking justice for alleged survivors and confronting powerful figures. In court, Combs remained largely silent, only confirming he understood the charges. Outside the courthouse, protest groups are staging daily demonstrations, though the judge banned loudspeakers within 100 feet of the entrance. Media coverage is exploding, with over 28,000 mentions logged across TV and digital platforms just days into jury selection. Finding jurors unaffected by the publicity is proving difficult. Cable networks are running live updates, and streaming platforms are preparing recap specials. Beyond the courtroom, Combs' brand is taking hits. His Spotify listenership dropped 12% in April, and his fashion label, Scene John, has paused a new launch. Still, some in the industry say this damage could be temporary, depending on the trial's outcome. Music rights attorney Dina Lee noted that most labels will wait for a verdict before making decisions. Federal investigators are pressing forward. In March, agents searched Combs' properties in Los Angeles and Miami, collecting hard drives and surveillance equipment. His legal team claims the raids were excessive and has filed a motion to suppress the evidence. That hearing will take place after jury selection. Prosecutors say the digital records include private flight logs, nightclub guest lists, and even biometric data to trace travel timelines. The IRS is also conducting a financial audit, with court filings hinting at concerns over unreported income, though no tax charges have been filed. Combs' public relations team has pushed back, highlighting his philanthropic efforts, including donations to HBCUs and hurricane relief. His attorneys also argue that some accusations fall outside the statute of limitations. However, prosecutors counter that the alleged conspiracy extended into early 2024, resetting the timeline under federal law. Judge Arun Subramanian has ruled that jurors can hear about previous civil settlements, but not the amounts, to prevent bias. He also barred the term hush money, requiring attorneys to refer to private agreements. If convicted, Combs would face a second phase focusing on asset forfeiture and possibly a drawn-out sentencing review. Any appeal would go to the Second Circuit, the same court that upheld the R. Kelly verdict under similar legal theories. Jury selection resumes Tuesday, with opening statements set to follow once 12 jurors and 6 alternates are finalized. Testimony is scheduled to begin May 12th. Prosecutors plan to call over 20 witnesses, including former employees, doctors, and airline personnel, to testify about cross-state travel, NDAs, and efforts to conceal financial transactions. Assistant U.S. Attorney Rachel Collins said each witness will shed light on a network built to maintain silence and control.
Apparently, a couple of weeks ago, the prosecution offered Diddy a plea deal, which he turned down. We don't know the details of what that plea deal entailed, but he said he's not taking it. This is coming after they've added additional charges, like the second superseding indictment.